They wanted the truth buried forever. They built lies so convincing that even silence became a prison. But every mask cracks, every secret rots, and every hidden chapter eventually finds the light. Today, the walls are shaking because the full story can no longer be contained. What you're about to hear isn't comfortable. It challenges everything they hoped you'd believe. Some people will panic. Others will deny it. But those willing to face reality will discover a power they've never felt before. Stay until the end, because once you understand what really happened, you'll never see yourself, your enemies, or your future the same way again. Every powerful story begins with an uncomfortable truth that someone desperately wanted to keep hidden. The strange thing about truth is that it never disappears. It can be delayed, buried beneath distractions, covered by noise, or surrounded by endless opinions. But eventually it finds a way to surface. People often spend enormous amounts of energy protecting appearances instead of facing reality. They build carefully crafted versions of events, hoping no one will question the cracks. For a while, it seems to work. The world accepts what is convenient. The crowd follows what is repeated the most. Those who ask difficult questions are ignored, criticized, or misunderstood. Yet time has a way of exposing what pressure cannot permanently contain. Think about your own life. How many moments made no sense when they first happened? How many betrayals seemed random until years later, when a missing piece finally appeared? Suddenly, the confusion became clarity. The rejection became protection. The delay became preparation. What once looked like failure revealed itself as a lesson that redirected your entire path. The truth has a remarkable ability to reorganize the past. It changes how you interpret every event, every conversation, and every decision that once kept you awake at night. Many people fear the truth because it demands responsibility. It removes comfortable excuses and exposes uncomfortable realities. It forces individuals to admit that they ignored warning signs, trusted the wrong voices, or surrendered their power too easily. That realization can be painful, but it is also liberating. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. The moment truth enters the room, illusions lose their authority. The stories built on deception begin to collapse under their own weight. There will always be people who prefer control over honesty. They understand that confused people are easier to influence than confident ones. Doubt keeps people dependent. Fear keeps them silent. Constant distraction keeps them from asking meaningful questions. When someone finally breaks that cycle and begins thinking independently, they become difficult to manipulate. That is why genuine awareness often feels lonely in the beginning. Not everyone celebrates someone who starts seeing clearly. Clarity threatens systems that rely on confusion. The interesting part is that the strongest individuals rarely announce what they have discovered. They observe, they connect patterns, they learn from experience instead of reacting emotionally to every new piece of information. While others argue over appearances, they quietly focus on understanding deeper causes. This habit transforms ordinary people into resilient individuals because they stop chasing every rumor and start recognizing consistent patterns. Wisdom grows when observation becomes stronger than impulse. Every hidden truth carries consequences. Some expose dishonest intentions. Others reveal overlooked opportunities. Sometimes the greatest discovery is realizing that you were stronger than you believed all along. The obstacles that seemed designed to destroy you were actually developing qualities you never would have built in comfortable circumstances. Patience, discipline, emotional control, and resilience often emerge from seasons that initially appeared unfair. Looking back, the hardest chapters frequently become the foundation of the strongest character. There is also a difference between hearing the truth and accepting it. Information alone changes nothing. Transformation begins when you allow truth to influence your choices. Once you recognize unhealthy patterns, you can no longer pretend they do not exist. Once you understand your value, settling for less becomes impossible without betraying yourself. Awareness creates responsibility. Every decision after that point either honors your growth or delays it. People often wait for dramatic moments before believing something important has changed. In reality, life's biggest turning points are usually quiet. They happen in a single decision, a single realization, or a single moment when you stop accepting the narrative that has limited your potential for years. Nothing outside may appear different immediately, yet everything inside begins shifting. Your confidence no longer depends on approval. Your direction no longer depends on popular opinion. Your peace no longer depends on everyone agreeing with you. When hidden truths finally surface, they rarely destroy the person willing to face them. Instead, they expose the false foundations that were never strong enough to support lasting success. What remains after the illusion falls is something far more valuable than comfort: a clearer mind, stronger judgment, deeper confidence, and the freedom that only comes from seeing reality without disguise. There comes a moment when everything you believed begins to shift. It is not because the world suddenly changed overnight, but because a missing piece finally falls into place. The facts that once seemed unrelated begin connecting like fragments of a puzzle. Conversations that felt ordinary suddenly carry a different meaning. Decisions people made around you no longer appear random. You begin to recognize patterns that were always there, hidden beneath distraction, emotion, and assumptions. That realization can be unsettling, but it is also the beginning of genuine clarity. Most people move through life accepting the first explanation they are given. It feels easier to believe what is familiar than to question what is comfortable. Yet growth has never belonged to those who refuse to examine their beliefs. Every major breakthrough in life begins with someone willing to ask, "What if there is more to this?" That question alone has the power to transform a person's direction. It encourages observation instead of reaction, curiosity instead of certainty, and wisdom instead of blind acceptance. Sometimes the biggest obstacle is not the truth itself, but the emotional attachment we have to old story. We become invested in ideas because they are familiar, not because they are accurate. Letting go of those ideas can feel like losing part of our identity. However, holding on to comforting illusions often costs far more than facing difficult realities. The truth may challenge your pride for a moment, but deception can steal years of your progress if you continue believing it. Think about every setback you have experienced. At the time, each disappointment probably seemed isolated. A failed opportunity looked like bad luck. A betrayal felt personal. A closed door appeared unfair. But when viewed through a broader perspective, those moments often reveal an entirely different story. The rejection may have protected you from the wrong path. The failure may have developed skills you would never have learned through easy success. The betrayal may have shown you the value of surrounding yourself with trustworthy people. Perspective changes everything because it reveals purpose where frustration once existed. People often confuse information with understanding. We live in a world overflowing with opinions, headlines, and constant updates. Yet access to information does not automatically create wisdom. Wisdom comes from slowing down, observing carefully, and separating facts from assumptions. It comes from resisting the urge to react immediately and instead asking better questions. Strong minds are not built by consuming endless noise. They are built by learning how to think clearly despite the noise. There will always be individuals who encourage emotional reactions instead of thoughtful reflection. Anger spreads faster than patience. Fear attracts more attention than confidence. Confusion creates dependency because uncertain people look to others for direction. But the moment you begin thinking independently, you regain something incredibly valuable: control over your own decisions. You stop allowing circumstances or public opinion to determine your mindset. Instead, you develop the discipline to evaluate situations based on reason, experience, and principle. Clarity also changes the way you see yourself. You stop measuring your worth by temporary setbacks or the opinions of people who never understood your journey. You realize that many limitations were accepted, not proven. You recognize that fear often exaggerates obstacles while minimizing your capabilities. Once that realization takes hold, confidence begins growing from within instead of depending on external validation. That type of confidence is difficult to shake because it is rooted in experience rather than applause. The most remarkable transformations rarely begin with dramatic action. They begin with a shift in perception. The same challenge that once felt impossible suddenly becomes manageable because you now understand it differently. The same criticism that once wounded your confidence loses its power because you recognize it no longer defines your identity. The same uncertainty that once created anxiety becomes an opportunity to adapt, learn, and grow stronger. Life rewards those who are willing to replace assumptions with understanding. Every lesson you embrace becomes another layer of resilience. Every false belief you release creates room for better judgment. Every moment of honest reflection strengthens your ability to navigate future challenges with confidence. As the picture becomes clearer, you no longer waste energy chasing appearances or defending illusions. Your attention shifts toward building character, making wiser decisions, and creating a future based on truth rather than temporary comfort. Every challenge has visible faces and invisible forces behind it. Most people only react to what they can immediately see. They focus on the words that were spoken, the actions that were taken, or the obstacle standing directly in front of them. Yet the greatest lessons often come from looking beyond the surface. Every decision has a motive. Every pattern has a source. Every repeated conflict usually points towards something deeper than the event itself. The moment you begin searching for causes instead of merely reacting to consequences, your perspective starts changing in ways that make you far more resilient. Not everyone who influences your life does so openly. Some people encourage you with honest intentions, while others shape situations through subtle actions that are easy to overlook. They may spread doubt through casual conversations, discourage your ambitions under the disguise of concern, or quietly celebrate when you settle for less than your potential. Their influence is rarely dramatic. It works slowly, encouraging hesitation instead of confidence and fear instead of action. If you never stop to examine these influences, you may begin believing limitations that never truly belonged to you. One of the greatest forms of manipulation is convincing someone that they are incapable before they ever attempt something meaningful. When a person repeatedly hears that success is unrealistic, that dreams are childish, or that failure is inevitable, those messages slowly become internal beliefs. Eventually, they stop trying, not because they lack ability, but because they have accepted a story that was never true. This is why protecting your mindset is just as important as developing your skills. Your actions will rarely rise above the expectations you secretly hold about yourself. Patterns reveal far more than isolated moments. A single disagreement may simply be a misunderstanding. A single setback may be ordinary, but when the same type of obstacle appears repeatedly, it becomes worth asking deeper questions. Are you surrounded by people who constantly discourage growth? Are you repeating habits that quietly sabotage your progress? Are you ignoring warning signs because familiarity feels safer than change? Honest reflection uncovers patterns that emotion often hides. Those who learn from these patterns avoid repeating unnecessary struggles. There's also an invisible battle between comfort and growth. Comfort whispers that tomorrow is always available. It encourages delay, excuses, and endless preparation without meaningful action. Growth demands movement despite uncertainty. It asks you to take responsibility before you feel completely ready. Most extraordinary achievements begin before confidence arrives. Confidence is usually the result of consistent action, not the requirement for taking the first step. Another hidden influence is comparison. Modern life constantly invites people to measure themselves against someone else's timeline. You see achievements, recognition, and success without witnessing the years of effort behind them. Comparison quietly steals gratitude while creating unnecessary pressure. Instead of appreciating your own progress, you begin chasing someone else's destination. This weakens focus because your energy becomes divided between building your future and envying another person's present. The strongest individuals understand that lasting success comes from consistent improvement, not constant comparison. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It sounds reasonable. It tells you to wait for perfect conditions, complete certainty, or universal approval. Yet perfect conditions rarely exist. Every successful person has acted while uncertainty was still present. They accepted that mistakes were part of learning rather than proof of inadequacy. Fear wants guarantees. Growth requires courage. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary people is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move despite it. Your environment also shapes your thinking more than you may realize. Conversations influence expectations. Habits influence decisions. Daily routines gradually become lifelong outcomes. If you spend enough time surrounded by negativity, excuses begin sounding normal. If you spend enough time around disciplined people, consistency starts feeling natural. Success is rarely the product of one dramatic decision. More often, it is the accumulation of small choices, repeated with purpose over long periods. As your awareness grows, you become more selective about where you invest your attention. You stop reacting to every criticism because not every opinion deserves equal weight. You recognize that distractions often appear when you are making meaningful progress. You become less interested in proving yourself to doubters and more committed to proving your potential through disciplined action. That shift changes everything because your energy is no longer consumed by unnecessary battles. Eventually, you realize that the greatest power is not found in controlling every circumstance, but in mastering your response to them. Challenges may continue to appear, unexpected setbacks may still interrupt your plans, and criticism may never completely disappear. But a person who understands the deeper forces shaping behavior, choices, and outcomes develops something far more valuable than temporary victories: steady judgment, emotional discipline, and the ability to keep moving forward without allowing confusion, pressure, or outside influence to determine the direction of their life. Shock has a strange way of freezing people in place. The moment unexpected information appears, emotions rush in before reason has a chance to speak. Anger demands immediate action. Fear imagines the worst possible outcome. Confusion searches desperately for someone to blame. In those moments, many people make decisions they later regret because they allow emotion to become the loudest voice in the room. Yet, the strongest individuals understand that every moment of shock carries a hidden opportunity. While others panic, they pause. While others react, they observe. That single difference separates temporary emotion from lasting strength. Life rarely gives advance warning before exposing uncomfortable realities. Sometimes a trusted relationship changes without explanation. Sometimes a long-held belief is challenged by new evidence. Sometimes an opportunity disappears just when it seemed guaranteed. These moments feel unfair because they interrupt the story you expected to live. However, reality does not ask permission before changing direction. The sooner you accept that uncertainty is part of every meaningful journey, the less power unexpected events have over your peace of mind. Many people mistake emotional intensity for personal weakness. They believe that feeling shocked means they are incapable of handling difficult situations. In truth, everyone experiences moments of uncertainty. The difference lies in what happens next. One person allows fear to control every decision, while another chooses to transform discomfort into determination. Strength is not measured by the absence of emotion. It is measured by the ability to remain guided by wisdom, even when emotions are running high. Think about every challenge that once seemed impossible. At the beginning, it probably felt overwhelming. Your mind filled with questions that had no immediate answers. You wondered whether you would recover, whether things would ever improve, or whether you were capable of moving forward. Yet with time, those same experiences became proof of your resilience. Looking back, you realize that you survived situations you once believed would defeat you. That realization creates confidence because it reminds you that your past victories were built during moments of uncertainty, not comfort. Clarity often arrives after emotional noise begins to settle. When the mind is overwhelmed, it struggles to distinguish facts from assumptions. Every possibility feels equally likely, and every fear appears convincing, but patience creates space for perspective. Instead of responding to every thought, you begin evaluating which ones deserve attention. This discipline prevents temporary emotions from becoming permanent decisions. It allows you to respond intentionally instead of reacting impulsively. There is remarkable strength in refusing to let circumstances define your identity. A setback does not make you a failure. A disappointment does not erase your potential. Criticism does not determine your worth. These experiences are events, not definitions. Too many people confuse what happened to them with who they are. The moment you separate those two ideas, you reclaim control over your future. You stop carrying labels that were never meant to become permanent. Growth also requires letting go of the need for complete certainty. Many people delay action because they are waiting for perfect understanding before making a move. They believe confidence comes first and action follows. In reality, confidence is usually earned through action. Every step forward teaches something that endless preparation never could. Every challenge overcome strengthens your ability to face the next one. Progress creates confidence far more effectively than overthinking ever will. Resilient people develop habits that protect their peace during uncertain seasons. They avoid making life-changing decisions in moments of intense emotion. They seek understanding before judgment. They choose thoughtful conversations over unnecessary conflict. They understand that not every battle deserves their energy. Instead of trying to control every external event, they focus on mastering their internal response. This shift gives them stability even when circumstances remain unpredictable. Another important lesson is recognizing that every ending creates space for a beginning. Closed doors often reveal paths that were previously invisible. What feels like loss today may become the reason you discover a greater opportunity tomorrow. Many successful people can trace their greatest achievements back to moments they initially described as disasters. If those disappointments had never occurred, they might never have developed the courage, creativity, or determination required for future success. What appeared to be an obstacle was actually a redirection towards something better. As your perspective matures, you become less interested in dramatic reactions and more committed to meaningful progress. You no longer measure strength by how loudly someone responds, but by how consistently they move forward, despite uncertainty. Calm thinking becomes your advantage. Patience becomes your strategy. Discipline becomes your foundation. Instead of allowing unexpected events to steal your focus, you transform them into opportunities for deeper understanding, wiser decisions, stronger character, and a future shaped not by fear or confusion, but by clarity, resilience, and unwavering purpose. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people assume that remaining quiet means weakness, fear, or surrender. They believe that every accusation deserves a response, every insult requires a comeback, and every challenge demands an immediate reaction. But true strength rarely announces itself through noise. It reveals itself through control. A person who can master their emotions before their words has already won a battle that many never realize they are fighting. Silence is not about avoiding conflict. It is about refusing to waste your energy on battles that do not deserve your attention. There is a reason experienced leaders, disciplined athletes, and resilient individuals do not reveal every thought that enters their minds. They understand that words cannot be taken back once they are spoken. A single emotional response can undo months of careful progress. In contrast, a calm pause creates room for better judgment. It allows facts to replace assumptions and purpose to replace impulse. That brief moment of restraint often becomes the difference between regret and wisdom. Not every opinion deserves your explanation. One of the greatest traps people fall into is believing they must convince everyone to understand them. The reality is that some people have already decided what they want to believe long before you speak. No amount of explanation will change a mind that has no interest in truth. Continuing to argue with such people only drains your energy while strengthening their determination to resist. Sometimes the strongest statement you can make is refusing to participate in an argument that leads nowhere. Silence also protects your vision. Every dream begins as something fragile. In its early stages, it requires discipline more than applause. When you share every goal with everyone around you, you expose your ambitions to unnecessary criticism, doubt, and distraction. Some people may unintentionally discourage you because they cannot imagine possibilities beyond their own experiences. Others may openly question your abilities because your ambition reminds them of opportunities they never pursued. Keeping certain plans private allows them to grow without constant interference. Think about the most successful people you admire. Many of their greatest achievements happened long before the public noticed them. The audience saw the victory, but they never witnessed the countless quiet mornings, disciplined evenings, repeated failures, and private sacrifices that made success possible. Progress is often built in silence before it is celebrated in public. Results speak with far greater authority than promises ever could. There is another reason silence holds such power. It sharpens observation. When you spend less time talking, you spend more time listening. You notice patterns in people's behavior. You recognize who encourages your growth and who quietly celebrates your setbacks. You begin understanding motivations instead of simply reacting to words. Observation provides information that endless conversation often hides. The person who listens carefully usually learns far more than the person determined to speak first. Silence also strengthens emotional discipline. Every criticism becomes a test. Every misunderstanding becomes an opportunity to choose patience over pride. Emotional maturity is not proven by winning every argument, but by knowing which arguments are not worth having. You protect your peace by refusing to allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. That kind of self-control creates stability because your direction is no longer controlled by the changing opinions of others. Many people fear silence because it forces them to confront their own thoughts. Constant noise becomes a distraction from self-reflection. But growth requires moments of honest evaluation. In quiet moments, you begin recognizing habits that need improvement, strengths you have overlooked, and opportunities you previously ignored. Silence becomes a place where wisdom develops because it removes the endless distractions competing for your attention. There will always be people who mistake your calmness for weakness. They may assume that because you are not reacting, you are unaware. They may believe your patience means they have defeated you. Let them believe what they choose. Their assumptions do not determine your reality. Your focus remains on building something meaningful rather than proving yourself through unnecessary conflict. Every minute spent defending your ego is a minute taken away from developing your potential. Eventually, your actions begin speaking louder than any explanation ever could. Consistent disciplined silences doubt more effectively than emotional arguments. Steady progress answers criticism without requiring a single word. Confidence grows when you no longer feel compelled to announce every move or defend every decision. You become comfortable allowing time, character, and results to reveal the truth. In that quiet confidence lies a strength that cannot easily be shaken because it is built on self-mastery, clear purpose, disciplined action, and the understanding that the loudest voice in the room is rarely the one with the greatest power. Every chapter of your life has been preparing you for a moment when you finally stop living according to someone else's expectations and begin creating a future that reflects your own purpose. Many people spend years chasing approval, trying to satisfy voices that constantly move the finish line. No matter how much they achieve, someone always expects more. Eventually, they realize that building a life around external validation leads only to exhaustion. Real freedom begins when you decide that your direction will be guided by your values instead of the changing opinions of the crowd. The past can become either a prison or a foundation. It all depends on how you choose to see it. Some people allow old failures to define every future opportunity. They replay mistakes repeatedly until those memories become excuses for never trying again. Others examine the same failures, extract the lessons hidden within them, and use that knowledge to make wiser decisions. The event itself remains unchanged, but its meaning changes completely. Your future is shaped less by what happened yesterday and more by the story you continue telling yourself about yesterday. One of the greatest transformations happens when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What can this teach me?" That simple shift changes your relationship with adversity. Instead of viewing every obstacle as proof that life is unfair, you begin recognizing challenges as opportunities to strengthen qualities that comfort could never develop. Patience grows through waiting, courage grows through uncertainty, discipline grows through repetition, character grows when no one is watching. Every difficult season leaves behind a gift for those willing to search for it. There will always be distractions competing for your attention. Some arrive in the form of temporary pleasures that steal time from meaningful goals. Others appear as unnecessary conflicts designed to drain your emotional energy. Many people spend years reacting to every interruption without realizing that focus is one of the most valuable resources they possess. Every time you protect your attention, you protect your future. The direction of your life is determined by what consistently receives your time, effort, and commitment. Success is rarely built through dramatic breakthroughs alone. More often, it is created through ordinary actions, repeated with extraordinary consistency. Waking up when motivation is absent, continuing to learn after making mistakes, remaining disciplined when no one is offering praise. These quiet decisions rarely attract immediate recognition, but over time, they produce remarkable results. The difference between people who achieve lasting success and those who remain stuck often comes down to their willingness to continue moving forward, even when progress feels slow. Your environment also deserves careful attention. The people surrounding you influence your expectations more than you may realize. If you spend enough time among negativity, doubt begins sounding reasonable. If you spend enough time around disciplined individuals, excellence starts feeling normal. This does not mean avoiding everyone who disagrees with you. It means choosing relationships that encourage growth rather than constantly reinforcing limitations. The voices you hear most frequently eventually become the thoughts you repeat to yourself. Confidence becomes stronger when it is supported by action instead of imagination. Many people wait until they fearless before pursuing meaningful goals. Yet fear rarely disappears completely. It simply loses influence each time you act despite its presence. Every completed challenge becomes evidence that you are capable of more than your doubts suggested. Gradually, your identity shifts. You no longer see yourself as someone hoping for change. You become someone actively creating it through consistent choices. Another important realization is that comparison quietly steals both gratitude and momentum. Someone will always appear further ahead, richer, more talented, or more experienced. If you constantly measure your progress against another person's journey, you will overlook the victories already taking place in your own life. Growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming a stronger version of yourself than you were yesterday. Small improvements repeated consistently create extraordinary transformation over time. As you continue moving forward, there will still be uncertainty. Unexpected challenges will appear. Plans may require adjustment. Some opportunities will close while others emerge without warning. None of this changes your ability to keep growing. Resilient people understand that direction matters more than speed. They remain committed to learning, adapting, and improving regardless of temporary setbacks. Their confidence is no longer dependent on perfect circumstances because it has been strengthened through experience. When you finally recognize that your greatest competition is the person you were yesterday, everything begins to change. Your focus shifts away from proving yourself to others and toward fulfilling your own potential. Every disciplined choice becomes another step toward the future you are building. Every lesson becomes another tool for wiser decisions. Every challenge becomes another opportunity to demonstrate resilience. And with each passing day, you move closer to becoming the kind of person who is no longer defined by past limitations, but by the courage, discipline, wisdom, and purpose that now shape every decision you make.